Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A word from unbeaten up-and-comer and Olympic gold medalist Lauren Price ahead of her upcoming title fight with Jessica McCaskill. I'm almost out of tickets. To secure yours, please contact this number. When it was announced I was headlining in Cardiff for a world title shot, I wasn't sure how the response from my supporters would be, and I can hand on my heart say, you've blown it out of the water. The beauty of the British boxing scene is the grassroots part of it. That element is what makes it a more fertile environment, more fertile even than the American market in this day and age. How Johnny Fisher's fans, Johnny Fisher, his supporters, show up and show out wherever he goes, so long as they can get there. It seems something similar would apply to young Lauren Price. Lauren Price, the Olympian. Lauren Price, the southpaw. To Jessica McCaskill, the champion, the orthodox fighter, the veteran. 10 years older than Lauren. That matters. Jessica McCaskill's style has a way of causing otherwise polished boxers to unravel under the pressure, the relentless pressure and the pace that she sets for a match. Her strength, her power. So is Lauren Price at only 6-0, ready for a fighter like this, a veteran? And she might be. You know, it kind of harkens back to the fight that Jessica had with Katie Taylor many, many years ago. How Katie was able to maneuver around her. She didn't engage Jessica in the pocket. She stayed on her toes, moved around, used the ring. Used her speed. Lauren's got plenty of speed. Buckets of it. If she's got anything, she's got that. She's a polished boxer, fundamentally sound and athletically gifted. And a part of those gifts is her speed. She's very fast. So when you think about that Katie Taylor fight years ago, and you think about this fight, it's entirely possible that Lauren Price could fight a 147-pound version of that same fight, the same fight that Katie fought, on her toes, sticking and moving around. She can do that. She can fight a bigger version of that fight, a 147-pound version of that fight, against an older, slower, aging Jessica McCaskill here today than the McCaskill of yesterday, the one that fought Katie. This Jessica McCaskill is several years older. Hasn't been looking too hot as of late. The one-sided beating she took at the hands of Chantel Cameron, the gift draw in the Sandy Ryan fight, what was her last fight, her final fight under the Matchroom banner, Matchroom, that kind of gave her every big opportunity she's ever had in the pro ranks. Seems like they parted ways unamicably. It seems that way, because immediately after that Sandy Ryan fight, there was talk of a rematch, there was talk of them running it back, but Jessica had a mandatory to satisfy, so at least seemingly they couldn't do it. Seemingly. Mandatory in the form of Croatia's own Ivana Habazin. The story was Jessica couldn't run it back with Sandy because she had to fight Ivana. That's what the story was. Just for the story to become Jessica surrendering the WBC title to Ivana so she can move forward with a fight with Lauren. If you were going to end up sacrificing your title, you might as well have did that to run it back with Sandy, but I guess Team McCaskill didn't want to do that, and it just is what it is. Without condoning or condemning. If that's what you were willing to do, why didn't you do that for Sandy? Why didn't you have that rematch? I guess they just didn't want to. Maybe the money for Lauren is better than the money they would have got for Sandy. Sandy Ryan rematch. I saw Jessica McCaskill entertain the possibility of fighting Natasha Jonas beyond this Lauren Price fight. Fight like that, I think, would only happen if Jessica wins it. If she beats Lauren. But I don't think she's going to. No, I think Lauren Price is going to win the fight, and then perhaps Boxer will do what they can do to make a fight between Lauren and Natasha Jonas, an in-house unification match. Natasha don't like the money, she starts driving a hard bargain, then they might move to fight the winner of Havazin versus Magyar. Have a unification match with them. That's how I see it. I think Lauren's going to win the fight. I think she's going to win the McCaskill fight. Staying on her toes, creating space, walking Jessica into punches, because if nothing else, you know Jessica's going to come forward, and even though she's strong, she's open. She's open to be hit. Lauren's fast enough to do it. Put a couple of punches in there, then get out. Lauren Price on points, that's how I see it. Fighting a very similar fight to the fight that Katie Taylor fought many, many years ago at 147, fighting a 147-pound version of that fight. I think Lauren wins. I think she takes the WBA title from Jessica McCaskill.
It seemed like Canelo was a little bothered that like Oscar was even on stage. Like I noticed that, and I asked him, and he's like, I don't like him. And I'm like, okay, I feel
Why
you.
would he like him? Why would he like him? He's a great fighter, but he's a horrible, horrible person.
Why? Fans watching this would be like, "Oh, why does Leonard feel this way?" Like, I've been covering the sport. I know the relationship, but they're going to be
History will tell you everything you need to know about him. Everything is I, me. Look what I done. Look what I did. Look what I did.
Sounds more like he's talking about Floyd than Oscar. It sounds more like he's talking about his own boss. Literally, everything he's saying about Oscar, you could say about Floyd. Literally, who talks about themselves more and aggrandizes themselves more than Floyd?
Everything is I, me. Look what I done. Look what I did. Look what I did. You ain't did.
That's rich coming from Floyd Mayweather's towel boy, the guy that makes the coffee at Mayweather Promotions, who doesn't seem to have much to do these days. Not really. I didn't see Oscar address Leonard because why would he? Leonard is tantamount to a secretary, little more than just an employee. It's not his name on the banner. He just works for someone who used to work with Oscar De La Hoya. The relationship between Floyd and Oscar is a symbiotic relationship because, believe it or not, if you've been paying attention, if there's no Oscar De La Hoya, there is no Money Mayweather. It's not as simple as saying that Floyd beating Oscar is what serviced as the launch pad for his career. No, it's more than that. And this younger generation that thinks they know Floyd Mayweather, they think they know his career, they think they know what happened. The PBC's origins. Everything you know about the subject you either heard from somebody else or you picked up on YouTube. You didn't witness it yourself. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Why are you talking?
Shut your fucking mouth. Look. Listen up. Without Oscar De La Hoya, without the Golden Boy and Golden Boy Promotions, there wouldn't be no Money Mayweather. What do you think? That after he bought out his contract at Top Rank and left Top Rank, he just all of a sudden became his own boss? He just stumbled into all of this success with no help from anybody else? That's not the way it happened. The PBC didn't even exist at that time, but you wouldn't know that because you didn't witness it live. You didn't watch it in real time. So shut up! Not going up to bat to Oscar's defense. Oscar's got his faults, his flaws, his drawbacks. I'm just saying the dichotomy between Mayweather and Oscar, it's curious because they were business partners for a time. Mayweather's flunkies, Mayweather's lackeys, like Leonard Ellerbe. Mayweather's fans, they don't realize how much of Floyd's success came from working with Golden Boy after he had left Top Rank. And it wasn't a brief relationship. That went on for a while. Why do you think it's Golden Boy Promotions on the checks? What do you think was cutting them? Golden Boy, you fucking idiot. Where that unholy trinity was formed. Floyd Mayweather, Al Heyman, and Dick Schaefer. It was at Golden Boy. I sometimes hear the Heymanites say that Canelo Alvarez owes everything that he is now to his fight with Floyd Mayweather. That's not really true. That's not really how that works. Everybody that Floyd fought did not go on to become a cash cow or the face of boxing, earning what Canelo Alvarez is now earning for a fight. No, not everybody Floyd fought. Did Andre Berto go on to become the face of boxing because he lost to Floyd? Did Victor Ortiz? Did Robert Guerrero? No. That sentiment really isn't true. But what is that Floyd Mayweather in many ways owes who he became and where he got to due to Oscar and his works with Golden Boy, because after he left Top Rank, that's when he donned that Money Mayweather persona. Yeah. His time at Golden Boy. It's when and where that happened. At least in part, that helped. Now, of course, Floyd was a generational talent, world-class, pound for pound, and all that good stuff. But if what you're trying to convince me of is that Canelo Alvarez became the face of boxing for no reason other than he lost a fight to Floyd, I can apply that same logic to Floyd and Oscar. Moreover, Golden Boy had more of a role in Floyd's career than Floyd had in Canelo's. You heard what the fuck I said. Oscar and Golden Boy had more of a role in Floyd's career than Floyd had in Canelo's. So Canelo Alvarez don't like Oscar De La Hoya. Ishai Smith doesn't like Floyd. Javante Davis doesn't seem to like Floyd. A lot of people who used to be around Floyd don't like Floyd. You're throwing stones in a glass house, Leonard. You have a bad habit of doing that, and you're just a fucking employee. So go make some fucking coffee. Fuck's this guy think he is? Like I said, Oscar didn't really respond to Leonard Ellerbe's comments. If he did, I didn't see it. Though why would he? Leonard's nothing but a glorified secretary. Get your nails done? Not a boss. You're not the head of Mayweather Promotions. You're just a Mayweather employee. You're Floyd's fucking footstool. Men's junior middleweight news. Former unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. took to social media to express his interest in facing the winner of this upcoming Saturday's fight, saying, "Headed to Vegas, I want the winner. #Tszyu versus Fundora." And you'll see a image of a mangled shark.
Mangled is right.
Got mangled by Terence Crawford, who seemingly is being frozen out of the big fights at 154, like they tried to freeze him out of the big fights at 147. What motivates that statement as well, Glenn Jennings already expressed an interest in facing Errol instead of Terence. So much so, he said they'd be willing to drop the WBO title to have that fight with Errol.
It's a duck.
There's no other way to look at it. If you skip out on Terence, who's your mandatory challenger, to fight the man that he beat, the man that he mangled instead of him, that's a duck.
And I liked him.
I've supported him, but that's a duck. And there's no other way to look at it. You would want to fight Errol Spence Jr. under these circumstances instead of Terence Crawford for obvious reasons.
Let's get something straight.
The fight between Terence and Errol was never supposed to happen. I don't know why people don't understand that. That fight was never supposed to go down. That's not what Al Heyman wanted, what the PBC wanted. That's what Errol decided. He decided to finally stop running, stop hiding behind politics.
And he paid for it.
Before that fight came into fruition, you think it's a coincidence that we were all hearing rumors that Errol might move up to 154 and he might fight Keith Thurman when he gets there. Do you think that's a coincidence? What they wanted was for Errol to bail, to abandon ship at 147, leave all those titles back there, and move up. It was not their intention to make the Crawford fight.
Then why did it happen?
Because Errol finally found his balls. He decided that he should stop running. I'm of the opinion that against their best wishes, Errol had that fight, but they didn't want him to.
So when it happens, you think they're happy?
When he goes in there, he's getting slapped around the ring, getting knocked on his ass over and over and over, getting battered and subsequently getting stopped.
Do you think they're happy?
You think that's what they wanted? A second fight, a rematch with that same Terence Crawford that almost killed you. You think they wanted to do that? You think it's a coincidence that it didn't happen?
But this might.
Errol had a rematch clause. He activated it, and yet the rematch didn't happen.
But this might.
They want to freeze him out. They want to get him out of the picture like they tried to get him out of the picture before. They want to get him out of the picture again. Now maybe it's because Terence Crawford's asking price is more than they are willing to provide. Terence wants big money. He wants big money for big fights, and they may not be in a position to get him that kind of money. And even if they were, they're not loyal to him. He's not one of their fighters.
You thought that was the start of a beautiful friendship? Maybe it wasn't.
Here on this channel, I said for years that Crawford would make it look like Errol don't belong in the same ring with him. This was well before Errol's car accident and everything that happened. This was well before that I said Crawford would beat the hell out of this guy.
In video after video.
Much to the chagrin of many an Errol Spence Jr. fan who, for whatever reason, chose to frequent this channel, even though they didn't agree with me, they didn't like my opinion, they kept coming here and complaining about what I was saying.
They were mad at me for saying it.
And when it turned out that I was right to assume Terence would annihilate this guy, do you think that made them happy?
That just made them angrier.
So when I think about that, and I think about Terence, and I think about the PBC, I feel like it's a similar situation to where they may resent Terence Crawford for winning that fight. Maybe they don't do him any favors. Maybe they don't like him.
They want to push him aside, push him out.
People are sentimental, and people love a comeback story. Some do. If Errol Spence Jr. can come back from what he suffered at the hands of Terence...
Can he?
Seems they want to try to bring him back. Put him in a world title fight straight away off a lopsided beating, a lopsided knockout loss to Terence. They want to put him in the ring with the winner of this fight.
Is that a coincidence?
So, Sebastian Fundora just so happens to stumble face fucking first into a world title shot, world title opportunity for not one, but 2 alphabet titles off a knockout loss. Coincidentally, Errol Spence Jr. may get to do the exact same thing.
Is that a coincidence?
That's not preordained. Behind the scenes, you guys didn't already decide amongst yourselves, you don't really want that Terence Crawford fight. You don't really need that WBO title, that if you have to satisfy him as a mandatory to keep it, you're willing to sacrifice it. You guys didn't decide this already, and we're just now catching wind.
The chicken and the egg.
It's the reason that Glenn Jennings said what he said on the Boxing Voice yesterday, because they already talked about this, and they already decided. Is the reason that Errol Spence Jr. is now coming forward, saying that he wants the winner. Is it because behind the scenes, this was already determined? This was already decided. Screw a Crawford fight, let's get Spence in there.
To the Tszyu people, an Errol Spence Jr. fight is going to be a more attractive fight because he got beaten half to death in his last fight. It's going to be more winnable, seem more winnable.
And the same is true in reverse. To the Spence people, fighting Tszyu is going to seem more winnable than fighting Terence again. You were never in that fight with Terence, but with Tim.
They figure they've got a shot.
Does he? I can't fight this feeling that the PBC as an organization is more like the WWE than a promotional outfit in the sport of boxing. That so much of what we see was already discussed, detailed, decided, and preordained. I can't fight that feeling, but does Errol Spence Jr. actually have what it takes to beat Tim Tszyu?
That's not a rebound fight.
If he wins this weekend, stays in character, stays champion, and stays unbeaten, for Errol Spence Jr., that's not a rebound fight. Yeah, maybe it is a more winnable fight than a Crawford fight, but that still doesn't make it a rebound fight.
It's not the kind of fight you come back with.
It's not ideal, but that seems to be what they're working on.
Maybe.
The story was that because the Spence versus Crawford rematch wasn't happening, that made Terence a network and promotional free agent. And if that's the situation, then the PBC definitely has no loyalty to him, no obligation to be involved in his next fight.
But Spence?
No, they were invested in him. We know they still are, if he wants to keep boxing.
Was one of their flagship fighters. They might still want him to be one of their flagship fighters now that they're with Amazon.
And what about him leaving Derek James and stiffing him out of his money? What about all of that?
Those answers will come. They'll sort all that out.
Yeah, it just seems to me like history is repeating itself, and they are once again trying to freeze Terence Crawford out of the picture with Team Tzyu's cooperation.